and welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have a beautiful and very simple Middle Eastern style dip called Beet Moutabel. Now this is very similar to hummus or baba ganoush, but it uses beets instead of chickpeas or eggplant or zucchini or anything like that, mixed with tahini. As you can see, the color is fantastic, it's delicious, and here's our ingredients. We've got some beautiful fresh beets. We're going to be using a whole bulb of garlic, some lemon juice, some black peppercorns, some cardamom pods, and some tahini. Now, tahini you can usually get at most grocery stores in the ethnic section. What we're going to do to start is we are going to clean the beets, but not peel them just yet. And we are going to cover them with water. And we're going to add in some salt here. And you can see we're adding in our peppercorns and the cardamom pods. We are also going to add in our peeled garlic. So you can see here we've taken, this is a full bulb of garlic. We've just peeled all of the cloves. And then we are going to cover that with water. Now we are going to actually braise these beets. They're not going to be roasted. We're going to pretty much boil them in here. And they're going to absorb all the flavor from those beautiful aromatics. So it's going to take in the flavor of the pepper, the garlic, the aroma from those cardamom pods. So we're going to make sure we have a really good cover on this. We're going to make sure the tinfoil stays nice and tight across the top there. And that's going to go into our preheated oven. Now all the cooking times will be in the description below, along with all of the ingredients and amounts. And you do want to test every so often just to make sure everything is looking good in there. And you want to make sure it's not done yet. So you don't want them to go too far over. You don't want them to be mushy. So we're just going to take this out and give it a quick little test. So we're going to very carefully, because it's very, very hot, very carefully open up the tin foil. And you can see a lot of the color has come out of the beets into the water, but they are still very, very firm. So we are going to put that back into the oven. They still need more time. So do this very carefully. That pan, that glass Corningware casserole dish is very, very hot. So we're just going to pop that right back into the oven carefully, because there is water in there. You want to make sure you're not sloshing all over the place. And we're just going to let that cook for a little bit longer. Now, once that time has expired, we are going to pull that out. We do want to test it again just to make sure that everything's done. So we're going to take a quick look under our tinfoil cover. And you can see it has been boiling a little bit. There's some marks on the side, and they are good and tender. They're fork soft. That's just about exactly what we want. Now we do want them to stop cooking, and we want them to cool down just enough to handle, so we're going to take it out of the water. You can also take out the garlic and anything else you want out of there. We were wondering if we would be able to use the garlic in the actual dish itself, but the garlic that was boiled and braised with these beets pretty much had lost all their flavor, so it wasn't really all that tasty anymore. So we ended up not using the garlic from here, but we will be using a couple more cloves of fresh garlic later on. And here they are. So we are going to toss those into our blending cup. This is we're going to use our stick blender for this. So we just want to cut those up a little bit, make it a little easier for the blender. And then we want to peel our beets. So you want to make sure that they're still warm, but they are cool enough to handle. And now that they've been boiled and cooked, the skin should just come right off with a good enough rubbing. Sometimes it helps to use like a paper towel or something like that, and they'll come off pretty easily. So in goes our beets. We're going to add in our lemon juice, but first we actually want to add some salt to this. Beets are starchy, so they will absorb a lot of salt before you can taste it. We're going to add our lemon juice on top of that. And then we're going to add in our tahini. Now, if you have a blender, you can use a blender to do this portion. We're using our stick blender, which is going to take a little bit of time, but is pretty efficient. And we do want to make sure that we have enough room in here for all of the ingredients. There are some big gaps in there, so the tahini is going to sink down and fill some of those big bubbles. You can see the air coming up through the top there. So we're going to pop our stick blender in there. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get going because, as I said earlier, the beets are quite fibrous. And you do want to make sure you're getting everything broken up, and you want to get a nice smooth texture by the end. So it might take a little work to get everything started. But once you've got everything going, you will be able to get a nice smooth texture. You can see here it's still a little bit lumpy, but it doesn't take very long for that to just all come together into a really, really smooth dip. It will have some texture. The beets aren't going to break down entirely, and if you have a strong enough blender, you could probably puree this right to very, very smooth, even run it through a tammy or something like that. We did like the texture, honestly. We left some small lumps in there, and the texture was quite pleasant. So we're just going to keep blending this until it is at the consistency we want. You want to make sure there are no big chunks of beets or chunks of garlic or anything left in there. Then we're going to transfer this into just a simple dish. This will go, this dish has a cover that we can snap onto it. We do want this to sit in the fridge for at least a few hours. Even overnight is great, and the flavors in this are going to develop the longer it sits. It will be much better the next day. But as I said, even if you let it wait just a couple of hours, it will be much more delicious. When you're ready to serve, we have some beautiful chives from our garden here. So we're just going to cut those on a bias and make some nice little slivers of chive. And we're going to liberally cover the top with them. And that makes a beautiful garnish. The colors on here really, really pop. The intense pink, sort of magenta color of this dip is out of this world. It's really unbelievable. And it's a great party food. It's awesome to serve with something like pita chips or tortilla chips, or even something like warm pita. If you have some pita bread, you can just cut it, toast a little bit and cut it into triangles, and it's delicious. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.